station is waiting on platform 2 for the 1442 service for Huntingdon Stevenage in London King's Cross.
Hello and welcome back to Woodhill Park.
You may have noticed that the door has moved from the centre to the left hand side, as I found photos depicting it on the left, and I think that's where it is. I did guess it'd be in the centre previously, but that is the correct place for the 80s. And as for the colour of the woodwork, I'm not too sure what colour it was. As far as I can see from black and white photos, it was white because it's a light colour, but it could have been a very light blue to match the Network Southeast. I'm not sure on that, so I'm staying with just white woodwork. I built the station in two parts. There's already the third part, which I built first, in reverse really, which is the overhead walkway and the station stairway wheels going down to the platforms. I did this about a year ago, and I did mention many times that I was going to do something about making this station the replica of Broxbourne, or as close as I can do it really. It will never be 100% replica, but anyway, I'll put this together on camera. The first part is the bottom of the building, obviously, where the entrance is, and I need to plug it in, as I've now wired it up with lighting. So relatively easy, but saying that, it's not something I want to take apart every 5 minutes. So I make sure the wires are tucked out the way, as I've had problems with the wires getting trapped. I'm careful. It should go into place. Emphasise should. It might be more than 1 or 2 goes at it. No, that's it, she's in. That's good. I'm pleased with that. I've had a go at doing this a couple of times, and I ended up fiddling for quite a while, so I'm quite pleased with that. So it's all plugged in at the lower section, and now I need to add the stairs and other part of the walkway. So this isn't that realistic, as the walkway's got a join, because I'd already built this onto an Art Deco station. So what I've done is joined it, so it will never look absolutely perfect, but it allows me to disassemble this station in 3 parts, which is quite helpful should I ever want to move it anywhere. And as the amount of work I put into it, I'm quite likely to keep it even if I move house. So, waffling aside, the top part fits in place via a lead connection for lighting. Got a plug in place. A little bit fiddly, not too bad. It's not going to be an everyday occurrence me taking this apart, so should be able to push the lead up inside what is the lift shaft, and lift the footbridge up, slide it together. Make sure the wire's tucked in. It's not. That's it. In place. Push it all together. And as I said, there's a join here, but what the hell? You've got to have compromises everywhere, really. And it does allow, like I said, for disassembly. Everything is in place. I've added detailing on the roof. There's skylights. There's air conditioning units. There's actually an air conditioning unit right in that position on the roof. At one time it was on the wall here, but it migrated over here, and I think in the 1980s it was sitting on top. That is not accurate having that there, but I have got a cutaway that I was trying to lose what joined to the old station, as I previously explained. Got another one over the other side, but that just looks like there would be an office with a bit of air conditioning, so it's no big deal, even though it's not 100% accurate. I'm going to do a bit more detail on top of the roof here eventually. The windows aren't 100% accurate, but they're a depiction of the station. Yeah, there is plenty of things you could pick holes in, but this is a compromise because it is a model, and also scale demands that you can't do certain things. I mean, I was going to split these windows here with a framework, but it would turn what is a rectangle into a square because of the size of the scale I'm working with, and it wouldn't look right. As the rectangle windows at the top, it's best to not split them up and just leave the impression of a rectangle rather than a square window. There's loads of things like that I've had to compromise on. I used the wheels pavement again in front of it. If I pan down, as a lot of people point out, you can't really lose the joins, but there would be channels to take the water away where a certain amount of pavement was joined anyway, so that's my story. It all lines up fairly well, and I'll start putting things in place. There used to be a bike shed in front. I don't think there is today, or if there is, it's in a different place. I chose to put the bike shed over here because it was on this side at one time. So, bike shed over there. And another compromise, because I didn't want to get rid of my Royal Mail depot, is the entrance to the end of the depot. I kept it at the side of the station when in reality it's a walkway through here, but that allows me to have a little bit of a slope here, which I've done with what did I do it with? I'm trying to sculpt mould, that was it. Sculpt mould, and I coloured it and just put it down here, so it just looks like some rough tarmac that's been added to the pavement, well, not to the pavement, to the curve, to allow it to be mounted by a vehicle picking up the mail. So this is used at certain points, obviously careful of pedestrians, just to put a mail vehicle up the side alleyway to the mail depot. So I'll just go and get the lorry in question and we'll put it up the side axis. So we can now populate the car park with cars. That was another compromise. I haven't got enough room to take all the parking that is at Broxbourne. There's loads of parking in the middle. In reality, I can only fit in about sort of half a dozen cars, but there is parking up the other end of the car park, but that totals only to just over 20 cars that can be fitted in. But that's down to scale and also the amount of space I'm working with, and having rafters come down at the wrong point. As I said, or I keep saying, this is just a representation and a compromise, but all the same, something that's personal to me in this layout. I did all this lining with scale model scenery, vinyl lining. It's very good, quite expensive, but you get quite a lot for your money, and it can get tedious doing it. I mean, doing all the double yellow lines and that, I was pulling my hair out a bit, but it looks good once it's done. And I've got a pay and display meter here, or a ticket machine, and there's signs up saying pay and display, and they've all got Network South East livery on them. Yeah, I did a bus stop. I need to get a bus shelter and a bus stop and a few things. There's a few bits like that I need to start adding, and getting the fencing right. Also, here is a sort of a walkway, a step down to the pavement from the New River. Now, in the 1980s, I think Thames Water allowed you to walk along the river still, but there wasn't a cycle path like there is today. It's nicely done and very wide, but in the 1980s it just would have been a little gravel or even semi-muddy pathway along the New River, as people mainly just walked because they didn't allow cycling. So I don't know whether I'll put a bit of a footpath or just accept that it's beyond this sort of part of grass here, and I'll just do an impression of the stairs going down, because there is steps going down, and I think they were there in the 80s, but they weren't there when this was originally built. It was all fenced off, and the Thames Water wouldn't allow you to walk along the river then. Against my better judgment, I've now got a tripod sitting on my layout. I'm being very careful, but this is where you end up breaking things. But I thought it probably gives you the best impression to see what's there and see the whole car park and the whole sort of station, I suppose. So this is the extra overflow parking up this end near the bridge, and as I pan up, you've got steps in the middle down from the road that goes down into the station, and parking and buses turning round down near the station. And if I zoom in, you get to see the new station in its entirety. Hello and welcome to what is the opening of Woodhill Park Station, alias Broxbourne. For this special event, a special person has turned up, a controversial figure of the time, and most people will know who that is. A certain Prime Minister who's shaking the hand of the director of British Rail, and she's congratulating him on what a wonderful renovation of the station. There's crowds in the background, and everybody's looking forward to using the new station. Security's high, obviously with the Prime Minister visiting. There's people taking photos for the newspaper. As I have lit the station, maybe it's time to put the lights on now and show you what it's like with it lit. Right, lights are on, but not all the loft lights are off, so you can have a good look at the building itself as well. If I move the Royal Mail wagon out the way, or lorry out the way, and zoom through the window, you can see I did add a bit of detailing inside. It's very hard to see. As much as I try to keep the windows from getting marks on it, it's extremely difficult when you're modelling, and the camera shows up all the marks in the plastic. But yeah, as I pan away, you can see there's figures in there and a ticket office. I'm probably best to go freehand with the camera now, so I can show you around easier. So I'll take the camera off the tripod, try not to knock things flying, and if I come round you can now see the front of the station. And if I'm careful not to knock the lights in the car park, you should be able to see through into the stairwell. And if I can come down, I'll move the wheel-mount lorry out the way, you should be able to see in through the entrance. And there's a ticket machine sitting in there, and the booking office, ticket office. Oh, quite difficult this. I'm trying to negotiate my way around one of the beams. But yeah, a lot of work went into this, and probably the most taxing scratch build I've done to date. It was quite a challenge, and at some points I was pulling my hair out. Some of the detailing is so delicate. While you're doing one thing, you end up pushing something else over or breaking something else off. It's extremely difficult. Even putting the bunting up on the fencing was driving me mad, trying to get that in place, because you just forget other things around you and you knock things flying, i.e. the bike shed or lamps or other bits and pieces you've got. But nevertheless, it's done now, but never finished. Right, there's just one more thing I need to put in place, and there isn't anything there these days, or I don't think in the 80s, but when this station was first built, there was 2 of these, including this flag. And I thought it'd be a nice thing to have a patriotic flag sitting outside the station again. Sort of thing they did in the 60s when it was first built. I welcome any constructive comments, but I'm not so keen on nitpicking, as it is a representation of the area, and it's just a model, so bear that in mind. Not every single thing will be perfect, and I don't want everything perfect. It's my interpretation of this station. And another thing I neglected to say is that I don't think you can see from here. I might be able to put the camera to have a look in, but inside, up a bit more, can you see that doorway there? There's a doorway there which then goes into a room that I want to build a stairwell into. Well, not a stairwell, stairs up to the platform with some handrails. So when you come off the train, zoom out again, when you come off the train on the platform, there's an entrance and steps down with handrail into a hall that you walk through that door. I haven't done that yet. That's for the future. That's a detail that I need to add. You can't see it at the moment, and you won't see a lot of it unless I run a train through with a camera, and then you'll just see an empty sort of aperture with a light coming out, or light coming out of it. That's something I've got to do. Right, having finished the station, or as finished as it's going to be at the moment, I thought I'd talk about the local traffic that used to run through the station in the 1980s. I did a bit of sort of digging and found photos, quite a few photos, but I can't show them obviously for copyright reasons. And I come across one guy that seemed to take a lot of photos around Broxbourne Station, and it's strange because one of my last updates was about model tanks. One of the pictures I come across was a load of military vehicles sitting in the sidings over here, which I haven't depicted. There were goods sidings, and the goods up loop, there was a goods train sitting there with a load of what I can make out Scorpion tanks, which is quite ironic, being that I was sort of painting these up and putting them on wagons just to show them off, not realising it was sort of connected at all to the station that I was revamping. But yeah, the picture depicts a whole row of these, or a whole train of these sitting in the siding waiting to go, and another picture with the train actually passing across the bridges and down the Lee Valley, the last 37116 departing Broxbourne up Goods Loop on the 2nd of April 1986, and it was on its way to Salisbury. I'm actually looking at the photo. It's a shame I can't show it, but if you search the internet looking at Broxbourne Station and traffic through it, you should come across the photos if you're interested. And it's amazing to have a look at, because you can see all the goods lines to the right hand side of the station, which are now overgrown and you can't even see them, but they're all still there. And I did read there's a turntable there as well. Amazing what's been covered up by nature. You can see all this off the bridge looking down at the station. There was a power station, well there still is, a power station at Hoddesdon, but it used to be coal fired, and so there was coal trains to and fro from it. Plus beyond the station where my engine shed is was Charrington's, so there was local deliveries of coal, as well as the merry-go-round wagons that went to the power station. So there was a lot of activity around this station, as well as passenger traffic. So let's run some traffic through the station that would have been running in the 1980s. I'd like to thank everybody for their mostly positive input on this update, and it was great to read your comments and possibly future ideas. One person I'd like to thank in particular is Gary Long. He turned out to be the draftsman that was saying I was abusing rulers, which was funny. Anyway, he went on to say that he had some photos of Banbury, and they were sort of in construction stage photos, and he kindly showed me those, and I'll bear that in mind for any future builds or adaptations of the station. They are quite similar actually. Another station which is very similar is Harlow. I think it was built at the same time, and it may even have a grade 2 preservation order on it like Broxbourne does. I'll turn the lights off now and you can see what it looks like at night time with everything lit up. Hopefully the camera picks up most of it. I know the station itself is glowing a bit, but that's the camera really. What I'm looking at doesn't look like it's glowing as much as that, but I think it shows it in a good light, you might say. And there's a spotlight here. This is a Bachmann flag you can buy. You can buy, you know, I mean they do the American flag, but they also do the Union Jack. And it comes with a spotlight that lights up the flag. And I thought that was really good. And I did that as a final touch, as I said. I did have a go with my little camera, running it along the bridge at the top and then going down into the station, just to give you an impression what it may be like if you was to walk down into the station at that certain height. But obviously in the road, at risk of getting knocked down, so it is a bit silly, but I give you a sort of a walk round of the car park. Shows up warts and all, because cameras do show you things that you've missed, so they are a good tool for continuous sort of updates of what you've done, trying to improve stuff that looks right. But I just thought this might give you a better impression of the modelling I've done. Anyway, see what you think. trouble with showing you all this close-up footage, you notice quite a few things that need to be amended. I mean, one of the things I did notice when one of the trains was going past through the station, that one of the left columns that's on the platform is raised and a gap underneath. So I probably need to sort of play with the walkway again and get it to sort of sit properly. It's sitting with a gap, but you don't notice these things when you look down on them, but a camera exposes all these sort of warts and everything, as they say. Nevertheless, it is a useful tool and a good way to sort of improve your modelling, as it does show up all the faults close up. An afterthought, really. I don't want to put too many people in here thinking about it, because I've got to lift this off and they'll be stuck on the pavement that's left behind, as the floor is the baseboard with stick-on pavement. So when I lift this up, they'll get left behind. The people in the ticket office don't, because they're sitting on a platform that's behind the window, you can't see it. But anybody I put in the actual, I don't know what you would call it, the atrium or whatever, they will remain on the base when I lift the bottom section of the station up. So I best not have too many, because there's enough things to jiggle around when I take this off and put it back. So I think 3 people in there is enough at the moment. It's not rush hour then. It's obviously not busy. Let's put this back into place. Right. Well, we're at the end of a long project now. I don't know what I'm going to do next, so I'll probably have a nice rest, and I've got quite a bit of work to do, as it's springtime, or almost spring, down the allotment, so I will be curtailing what I'm doing a bit, but I will be doing some running sessions and stuff like that, and small amounts of modelling and detailing, as there's details to add to this still. But for now, I'll say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and cheers. I'll see you again next time.